Hello, Flosstube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jen and this is my fiber web where we talk about cross stitch and sometimes knitting and crochet. Today is January 6th, it is Tuesday. My kids just went back to school yesterday after their winter break, so I'm trying to get back into a normal routine, and I figured I should show you what I was up to for the last part of December. So if you caught my last Flosstube update, you would know that I was doing what I called an untouched whips blitz for the end of the year. So I had a wheel for December where I was spinning it every day to choose a project that I hadn't worked on yet in 2025. And then my plan was whatever was left on the wheel on New Year's Eve, I would put on a 12 by 12 and work on each project for 1 hour leading up to midnight. So I did do all of that. I did the 12 by 12 and I ended up having 12 whips left. Because I missed a couple days towards the end of the month with the holidays and everything where I did not stitch. So I ended up with 12 projects. I worked on 10 of them, and I'll get to that. I'll get to the reason I didn't do all 12 later as we get there. So I'm just going to go through things in chronological order from where my last video left off. Also wanted to mention, it's going to be a lot of projects today that I'm showing you. I was able to finish a couple of things, and I have one new start this year. It's my full moon stitch that I do with my full moon friends, so we will get to that last probably. So it's sort of going to be like a mini whip parade. It is whip parade season, and if you are wondering where my whip parade is, there isn't one yet. I did try to film one on Christmas Day, and between that being the first time I did not have my kids for Christmas and a sort of awkward audio irregularity, I was not able to, I couldn't even bring myself to edit the video, much less post it. So I might try again to film a whip parade sometime later this month, but I'm not really sure. I did do a mid-year whip parade last year, and then the second half of 2025 was not as stitch heavy as the last couple years were, so that was another thing. When I did try to start editing my footage, I'm like, not many of these projects have changed very much since the mid-year, so I don't know if I'm going to do a whip parade. That's the moral of the story, but I am going to show you a whole big stack of projects today. There are also two things that I was knitting on in between the last two videos. I think I also might have crocheted a couple of stripes into my granny square blanket, but I'm not going to show you that because it's not very exciting. But I will show you real quickly the two sock projects that I was working on and where they're at now. So the first one is my Advent socks, where I got the Woolens and Nosh Advent skein, where there are 24, it's self-striping yarn of 24 different colors so that you could knit one color up to Christmas. So I kept up, let me show you this one. I kept up with this every day until I got to the last color, which is this sort of yellowy green down here at the bottom. So this is all 24 colors in the skein, and it will repeat now, so it'll start back over at this light blue. And obviously I do not have a whole sock, so I kept up with this until Christmas Eve. And then I was planning to try to finish these in between Christmas and New Year's, and that just didn't happen. So both of the socks are at the same exact point. And I just have a few inches left to go before I can do the toe. So I'm sort of hoping it might end with like this blue. So it'll sort of be like sky up here, maybe like sunset, I don't know what, ground, and then water. That's sort of what I was thinking would look cool. So if it ends on one of these blue shades, I will be happy. And then it will have a brown toe that will match this. But I'll show you that when I do it. And then the other sock project that I was working on was it's mostly the curling mist sock pattern from Helen Stewart, but I changed the cuff. So I finished one sock. I don't remember if this was done last time I filmed. I don't think it was. So I finished one sock. This sock blocker is a little bit too long for this sock, so the heel like wraps under. It's about an inch longer than the foot of the person that I'm giving these to. But the sock looks really funny when it's not on a blocker, because it's basically a 2x2 rib with just some cables every 6 rounds, I think. So it hugs really nicely to your foot, so it will have a good fit, I think. But it looks silly when it's not on the blocker because it just scrunches up. So this sock, you can see I have the heel flap and the heel turn done, and I picked up the stitches along the side, so I have started the gusset. And the gusset is low-key my favorite part of a sock, I think, because just all the decreases. I like when my rounds get smaller and smaller, so the toe is fun too, but I think the gusset's my favorite. So I have this handy. I do like knitting socks while I'm watching TV, so for like football games I've been working on those, and I want to get those done so I can give them to the recipient soon. So that's all the knitting content. The rest is going to be stitching. And this goes at the bottom of the pile, but it's on top. Okay, so chronological order. Where I left off, I was still spinning every day, and for whips that I hadn't touched. And the first day after I filmed was Trick or Treat by the Prairie Schooler. Also, I am not going to put in before pictures because I don't have the time or patience to do that much editing, so my apologies, but I will try to tell you what I worked on. So this one, I know I filled in some of the brown in the roof. I think that was pretty much all I did. So I worked on it for, I don't know, a couple hours maybe, and just filled in some roof. And then I think that day I was not, or maybe it was, yeah, I think I wasn't feeling working on that fabric, so that's why I didn't get too much progress. But then I did feel like I wanted to finish something, so I pulled out a whip and I got it done. It took me 2 days to finish the stitching on this, and this is Spell of the Moon by Blackbird Designs. So I did this on 28 count malachite by Picture This Plus, I think, or Fiber on a Whim. I don't know who the dyer is, but I know it's malachite. I think it's Fiber on a Whim. And I used 310, but I did use the called for the variegated yellow, which I think is called Harvest Moon. And I think the gray in the owl and that's in the house is also just whatever the DMC was. So yeah, this is just 3 colors. It was a joy to stitch. I'll show you what this is what the model looks like. And I love how mine turned out on this darker fabric. Beautiful. Malachite's one of my favorite colors. It's like a cool green. Love it. Okay, and then the next whip I worked on has since been adopted, so I'm going to send this to my friend Holly, and she is going to become the new owner and caretaker of this whip. This is Stephen King House by the Witchy Stitcher. This is on a piece of Ada that I think is 18 or 20 count. No, it's 16 or 18 count. I think it might have been marked 16, but it stitches more like an 18 because I used 2 strands, and I don't think I would have done that on 18 count. But I worked on this, and I think I was working like up here, and I just kind of, as I worked on it for that day, decided I don't really want to continue this. I don't really remember what compelled me to start the Stephen King house. I am not personally a big Stephen King fan. My mom likes Stephen King, and some other people that are no longer really a part of my life like Stephen King, but yeah, I just don't feel like this is something that I'm ever going to be motivated enough to finish. So I posted it on Instagram, and one of my friends said she would love it. So I am going to send this to her this week. Hopefully I have a whole stack of things that I need to mail out that I've been piling up. So Holly, this is coming your way soon. Okay, next I pulled out, this is a whip that I actually started in November of 2025, but the day I started it I only got like maybe 12 stitches in it, so I don't think I even showed it to you. It is from the 2025 Just Cross Stitch Halloween issue, and let me see if I can show you. It's this one. It's called Dancing Skeletons, and it is by December Stitches, Simone Decembro and Mel Mello. And I just worked on it a little bit. So here's my start. This is a mystery linen, and I am doing it with 2 strands of the called for DMC. So it's 2/2 on this sort of denim-y colored blue linen. And this one is very slow going for me. I'm not really sure why. I took a picture of the pattern and put it in good notes so that I could like zoom in and highlight stuff, but it's like I haven't been able to flow with it yet. So I just worked on it a little bit, I think for 2 days around my wheel spinning stitching. Okay, the next wheel spin that I had was for Reaching Skyward by Modern Folk Embroidery. So this was the stitch along in 2023. And this is the one where Jacob gave us a bunch of alternate options for many of the motifs in here, and I chose sort of a mixture, and I picked 3 DMC colors instead of just 2, so I have some extra just like accents here and there in my third color. And here is where I am at. So I can tell you, when I worked on it this time, all of my work was in this sort of section in here, which I said that this looks sort of like a fireplace to me, so I'm doing the inside of the fireplace. So I just picked that one color and tried to see how far I could get in one day. I wanted to try and finish that whole rectangle, but obviously I only got about halfway through. But there's my progress. I do not usually feel called to work on this, but I do love it when I pull it out and put some stitches in. So at some point I might try to come up with a way to make myself pull it out more often, but I don't know, because that doesn't usually work the best for me long term. So we'll see, but I'm totally happy with it just hanging out and being a whip that I work on sometimes. Oh, also, I don't think I said at the beginning, but if you want to know what any of my fabrics are or details about the floss and I don't mention it, you can just ask me in the comments or find me on Instagram and I will answer you to the best of my ability. I have a lot going on in my personal life and my memory has been a little bit less reliable lately, so I'm not going to try and guess. But I can look things up for you if you want to know. So the next project that I spun was Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Stamp-Links, which I started in October of 2024. And this one is not going to be very exciting to look at because I just decided to try to keep working on the frames of the individual blocks. So this fabric I know is from Bestitch Me. I don't know what it's called though, but I love it. And the last time you would have seen this, it would look very similar to you, but a lot of these boxes I had only done half stitch. So I would do like 10 or 20 stitches and then just cross the 10th or 20th one to count to make sure that I got everything framed out correctly. So I went back and did the top leg of all those stitches and I finished out the bottom edges of the top 4 boxes. So it doesn't look very different, but it was like a good amount of progress. It's not the most fun stitching, so that will set me up to work on the inside of the blocks when I work on this next. So I was actually finding that sort of like eat your vegetables stitching really satisfying during this wheel spinning thing, because I could just pick usually just one color and just go until I felt like I was done, and I knew it was only going to be for one day, so it didn't feel like a huge chore. So that worked out really well for me. Okay, the next spin that I had was, I'm going to show you the bag for this one because I love this bag. It's from the 805 Stitcher on Etsy. And this holds my Study in Pink by the Artsy Housewife. So I worked on this one for one day. It is on a 40 count, whatever this is. Sort of a like pink clay color. And I think this part was already done, the border, and so I was working in the wing and I had a lot of fun with those stitches. This one I did not just pick one color, I worked on several colors, and I think this one is in Pattern Keeper. So I really like being able to stitch from Pattern Keeper when there are patterns that are like less regular, less symmetrical, or there's a bunch of confetti or whatever. And just for fun, I'll show you. I pulled I pulled floss from Stash for this, and I picked colors that looked close to me to the call for. There might be like a couple of the called for overdyes that I happen to have in stash, but most of it is just stuff I threw together, and I'm happy with the colors I picked. I know the green is a Cottage Garden Threads. I don't know what the other ones are. They're in here. So happy with that. Another thing, I don't remember if I said this on my last video, but almost every project that I pulled out during December, I wanted to like keep working on, which is a really good sign, right? Because I was sort of worried that a bunch of these might be UFOs since I hadn't touched them all year, but that was not the case, so that's good. Okay, next up I have, this was not a wheel spin. This project is White Winter Moths by Kathy Barrick, and this is supposed to be my snow day stitch this year, which I don't know why I even picked one because I can't force myself to work on this every time it snows. But I did have the opportunity to get on a Zoom with my like international Zoom group Stitching Friends, and I haven't been able to get on one of their Zooms for quite a while, like several months. And they moved it to Saturday so that I could join. And I don't know if that's the only reason they moved it, but they did, and I was able to join, and it was fantastic to see everyone again. Not everyone was on the call, but everyone that was. Thank you for being there and letting me see you guys again and hang out. So during that call, I stitched on this project. Since I owed it stitches anyway, and I think I had picked out a different project to work on, but my tablet was dead. And it was a pattern keeper project, so I picked a paper one, and it was this. So, sorry. Caught up on stuff. So here is my progress on White Winter Moth. I believe when I was working on this, I maybe finished up this motif, or maybe this one was done. So I finished this one, started on this one, I put the bird in, and I don't remember if any of these little guys needed stitches still or if they were already done. But that's where I was working. I was trying to get this chart is like, I have the paper chart, and it's 2 full pages and then one little skinny one over here. So I was trying to get the one little skinny page done. So there's my progress. This one I know is on 40 count Vintage Country Mocha, and I'm stitching it 1/2 with the DMCs. Okay, and then I had another wheel spin, and it was for Black Sampler. This is a free pattern from Stitches Through the Years. I believe you can still get it for free from her. And when I pulled this out, I worked on this little zigzag line that goes across, and I brought this side down. I think all the letters were already done. I might have brought this side down a little too. I love this. I would like to finish it this year. I'm just using 310, 1/2 on this sort of greenish fabric that I don't know what it is. I think it's 40 count. I believe my Winter Rose Manor is on the other part of this fabric. You can kind of see the green. That's pretty good. I started this with Brittany. I haven't been saying that. I just want to get through all the projects. Okay. So the next project that I spun was the Herbalist Stitch Along, which was a mystery stitch along from World on a String by Dara. And when the stitch along was going, I think I joined a little bit late, but I caught up and I kept up with every week's section, which were little sections of the border. And then when the final part came out, it was like the center panel, which I'll show you in a second, and I just did not like jive with it. I think it's pretty and it's cute. It just like wasn't the style that I had in mind. So this whip had been sitting waiting for me to figure out what to do with the center for a while, and I had charted a couple of things myself, and I went back and looked at them when I spun this, and I did not like either of them. So what I did was I went through my own pattern stash looking for something that would fit in that square, and I found Harvest Keeper by Plum Street. And this little lady, who I've decided is an herbalist, even though here she's like a beekeeper, she fit perfectly. So I stitched her into the center. I changed the colors so that I pulled colors from the border of the Herbalist style so that she would jive. And I just sort of, I don't know. I charted her, like I put the outline of the border into Max Stitch and copied her over into there just to see how it would look. So, and also so that I could stitch from that chart. And anyway, I'm not even sure that I like checked that I centered her perfectly, but I love this. So sorry I didn't iron anything. I never do. I hope you're not expecting me to. So like I said, I kept up with that border, which I love. And I think those came out once a week. So I kept up with all of those, and then it was just sitting in its project bag. I had done the words, the Herbalist, and it was just waiting for that center. So I put her in. The orange and the color of her dress, and even I think the color of her hair, are all pulled from the chart. And the green for the stem of that flower is the same green that I used for this border, which is again that Cottage Garden threads green. Let me bring her a little closer. So this one is 2/2 on this linen. I don't know what it is. And yeah, I changed like her skin tone. I don't know if that one's a color from the chart or not, but if you look at her, her skin is like very pale on here. So I made her a little peachier. And yeah, I love this. I think it looks awesome. I even have a frame for it that I just set the frame on top and took a picture and posted it on Instagram, even though it was like late at night, so it was my crappy overhead light. But it's not like a perfect fit, that frame, but I might try and make it work because it's got like a floral theme. Okay. So after I finished the Herbalist, I wanted to finish something else. So I picked out one of my projects that I thought was closest to a finish, and that was this Dale Burdett Mallard Ducks Walking kit from 1985. This was a project that I started with Wendy from Matrix Stitcher for the You Quack Me Up Sal, and I did not put this masking tape on here. I bought this on eBay and it already had it, but I finished my ducks. So the duck in the middle was the only one that was done, and I added the other 2 ducks, and then the next day I did all of the backstitch. So I did do like this sort of more dated like stair-step backstitch as charted, because I think they look good that way. They looked okay without the backstitch, but they needed a little something. So I just did it as charted. There is supposed to be a single stitch rectangular border, that orange border that goes all the way around, but I did not stitch that because I think I want to find an oval frame to stick these guys in. And I love it. So that's another finish. Yay! Okay. Now I believe we have made it to New Year's Eve. I think that might be right. So I had 12 projects left. I put them on their own wheel. I think I just deleted everything else from them. Whatever. They were on a wheel with just the 12 projects, and I spun them and posted on Instagram my start and finish point for each of these. So I believe this was the first one. So this is Moths and the Moon by Tiny Modernist, and there's a stitch along for this that was hosted by, I think, Tara of Wild Woman Crafts and Marjorie from Marjorie Made, called Moths Over Many Moons Sal. And I just worked on this corner. So I had like this top line of the border and the moon, and the moths were from before. I just put in these little bits. All one color. I think that one's like $37.99 or something. So that was the first hour. And then I spun... Sorry, I should have opened these bags. I spun Something Wicked by Barbara Anna, which looks like this. And here is where this one is at, and I just worked on these leaves. And I don't know if you can tell in this light, but there's actually 2 separate colors. So this is charted in DMC, but there's 2 separate colors in that plant, so it sort of looks like it's a variegated thread. You just have to switch back and forth, which made it a little tricky, but that was an hour of stitching on that one. And like, my kids were all here with me on New Year's Eve. So I set a timer. I spun the wheel like 5 minutes before the hour, so I would have a minute to get everything out. And then I set a timer for like 55 minutes or 50 minutes or something like that, so that I would spin again. So I didn't sit down and actually stitch for the whole hour, probably for any of these, because I'd help my kids with stuff, I'd get food for them, but it was still nice. So the next one that I spun is Saga by Long Dog Samplers. I am using a Silks for You variegated silk for this. I don't know what the number is. And I worked on, let's see. I'm still on this very first arch, and I basically put in that chicken or rooster right here. So that was my hour. And this one is 1/1 on 28 count. Moonstone, I think, from Fiber on Wind. So the 1/1 on 28 count is sort of slow. I'm doing full cross. So it's nice that it's all one color, but it feels like a more challenging stitch to work on. Okay. Next, these might have gotten a little bit out of order, so sorry if that's the case, but I pulled this, or I spun this Autumn Foliage kit. I'm using all the kit materials for this, and when I pulled it out, I think it was, I had stitched to like right here-ish, so there's a couple new colors over here, and I started working on these like stones over here, and I think there were a couple little mistakes that I found from last time I was stitching that I tried to correct. So this chart is, here, I'll just show you this. It's hand-drawn, and this is one big piece of paper that folds out like a map, and I was just trying to look at it and stitch without like highlighting or whatever, which I don't know why I'm doing that. But then I decided to just start highlighting it so that I can keep track. I feel like I know I could take a picture of it and like put it in Good Notes, but I kind of want to do this one the way that I would have done it if I was stitching this in like the 80s or whatever. So I don't know. That's what I'm doing. Just highlighting. And shout out to Amy Loves Toast, because she said on a recent video that she's a highlighter, and that empowered me to just go ahead and do it. So thanks, Amy. Okay, next I have another kit. This is a Creative Circle kit, and it is called, I'm doing this one, it's called Cottage Quilts. So I pulled this out. I love this project, and I worked on this for an hour, and this part was done, this part of this quilt was done, so I just jumped over to start the next quilt. So all the blue stitches, there's 2 different colors of light blue, all those are new. So yeah, I started in the center on the red and green one last year, or whenever I started this, and then the blue stitches are new. I love this one. All the kit materials, 2/1 on this Ada. Okay, the next one from my 12x12 is We Spring by Heart and Hand. This one, I had only worked on it for 1 day before, and now I just worked on it for 1 hour, so I just extended the tree. This is charted to use all overdyed flosses, and I'm not doing that. I'm going to use DMC for most of them. It's charted in Gentle Arts, but then they also give you an anchor and DMC conversion. So I did happen to have cherry bark, which is the called for color for the tree. Now, my cherry bark looks much more red, and this cherry bark in this photo looks much more brown, but I decided to just go with it. So I'm using cherry bark, but the rest will just be DMC whenever I get to the rest. Okay, next 12x12 stitch was Return to Earth by Broomsticks and Bobbins. And I was using this color, so I don't remember what exactly was already here and what wasn't, but I think that's like 832 or something. I just took that as far as I could. And I think this one might have been during the hour of like dinner time, so I had the least amount of time to stitch on this one maybe. Okay. Next spin was Grimm's Garden by Sarcygurl. This one is, the fabric is called Middle Earth, and it is by Stitch Me, and I absolutely love this fabric. So I just worked on those little angel wings. When I had started this in 2024, I had counting error after counting error, and this time everything went fine. So I just put a few strands of 310 in, and I'm happy that I did not have to frog anything this time. I'm very excited to have this as a whip and be able to work on it in the future. It's going to take me a long time. It's a big chart, but I love it. And I believe it's free, so if you want to get it, I think you can still get it. But I don't know. Okay. Next spin was for this Dimensions kit called Winter Gathering. This one I think is currently available, like you can buy it wherever. Dimensions kit. This was one of the first things that I bought when I decided to start stitching again. So I bought this, and there's also a Dimensions kit called Woodland Deer, and Woodland Deer is done. And this is my oldest whip. I think I started this in 2024. Nope. 2022. November of 2022. So when I pulled this out this time, I just worked on the bottom of some of those trees. So the tree trunks, they're all half stitch. So I pulled out, I think it's a blend. One of the colors in the tree trunk is a blend. But it's just like one strand of each color and you just do half stitch. So I got a bunch of half stitches in underneath the branch that the birds are sitting on. Okay, and then this next one was the last spin that I stitched on for New Year's Eve, but also I continued working on this for a few days. I worked on it for 3 days already in January as well. So this one has a lot of progress since you would have seen it last. This is 4 Elements, which was a stitch along from Satsuma Street a couple years ago. And here is my progress. Man, this fabric is doubled up and you can still see through it. Here's my progress. So when I took this out, like the top part of this wave and these white thingies were done, but that was mostly it. So I've been filling in the different blues, and the fish is new, and I have, obviously, there's 4 parts to this chart for 4 elements, and I have the whole chart in Pattern Keeper right now, but I am trying to do the whole water section first. And actually when I put the floss for this on Floss Drops, I only put the colors I needed for part 1 on Floss Drops. The rest are still in skeins. And I did buy a kit for this, so I'm using the called for Cosmo Floss. It's the first time I've used Cosmo Floss, and I like it. I don't have any complaints. It has been nice to work with. The colors are very pretty. So this is like the edge of part 1 over here. And then there's one little wispy thing of white on top of this, like crest. But then otherwise this is the outline, so I just need to fill in around and below the fish. And I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to get the water part done, and then I'll choose if I want to do, I think fire's on this side and earth is on this side. And I'll just go part by part. But I want to finish this year. So I did break down how many stitches I would need like per month to finish it by the end of the year, and it was about 1,500 stitches, but I did way more than that. So now I only need 1,400 stitches a month to get this done. And I'll talk a little bit more about my plans for that and everything else at the end of the video, I guess. But I'm very happy with the progress on this. So I have 2 more projects to show you. One of them, well, I'll show you this one first. I picked another project to work on today. So I decided that I was ready for a break on 4 Elements. So I pulled out this project, which is the Reindeer by Cottage Garden. I believe I started this last January. And I would like to try to finish it this month. So this is on Gray Magic Ada from Stitch Me, and I am planning to do the 3 winter animals next to each other. So there's the swans and the fox and this guy, the reindeer. So I just got this out this morning, and I think all I did was there was like a dangling thread, so I finished out this dark brown right here. But he's going to be my whip for the next few days, I think. Or she, rather. See how far I can get. Oh, and then I started putting this tree in today. So we'll see how far I get on this. I think it's 18 count Ada, and I'm doing it 1/1. And I have this one has like it has 2 overdyed threads, and I have both of those, and then 8 DMCs. So I'm using all the called for colors. Okay, and then the last project I have to show you today is a new start. This is my full moon stitch that I do with Stephanie from Cross Stitch the Globe, Amy from Amy Loves Toads, Megan, the Wide-Eyed Stitcher, and Samantha from Kansas City Stitcher Samantha has joined us for 2026. And we each decided to choose a Kathy Barrick moon pattern. Now, Kathy Barrick has like a series of moons that you'd probably recognize. There's like a big moon, and then one has witches, and it's called Witches Training Academy, I think. And there's a Christmas one where there's a Santa with a bunch of reindeer, and there's one called Mother Nature, which has a woman with like a bunch of rabbits around her. So I think the idea originally was to pick one of those, or there's the newer one called Goodnight Moon, which still has the big moon, but I think it's all just gold colored stitches on like a blue background. Stephanie from Cross Stitch the Globe is doing that one. It has a lot of satin stitch or straight stitch or something. And I chose to be different. And I'm doing 12 of the clock. So it has a moon. It's not necessarily a moon pattern, but I decided it counted. And none of those ladies are going to doubt me. So I started this on the full moon, which was January 3rd, the wolf moon. And it's not that big, but it does have a lot of over one stitching, which I did not notice until I started working on it. So the first thing I noticed was around the sun, there's a bunch of over one stitching, and then also all the letters inside the house are over one. So this is not that big. I think it's like 93 by 90 something. But I haven't actually done a sampler that has over one letters or anything that I can recall. So I'm not sure how much longer it will take me to do that. But I worked on this on the 3rd, like I said, which was a Saturday, I believe. So I was, I binge watched Stranger Things season 5 between Friday and Saturday, I think. So I was working on this while I finished up Stranger Things. And I got the outline of the border done, and a few of these little things that are in a different color. This chart is interesting because if you look closely at it, it sort of looks like it's a variegated thread, but it's all charted in DMC, and it's just like the light brown colors. It's just several very similar shades. So my border does not look like, it doesn't look like it's done, but that color in the border is done. So all the other little leaves and everything are a different shade of DMC than the one that I was stitching with, if that makes any sense. I guess I could just show you the colors because I have them right here instead of continuing to babble. So there are only 6 colors total, I think, 7. 2 like very dark blues, and then these 3 sort of gold colors are used to kind of make it look like it's variegated thread, even though it's not. So anyway, I love this. I don't know if you can tell. I love this. I don't know what this fabric is. It's a mystery 28 count linen that I adore. It's like pretty see-through, so I'm not going to be traveling with my threads, but I don't mind that at all, and I really like how it feels in my hand when I'm stitching it. So I wish I knew what it was. Maybe I just need more 28 count linen in my life. I don't know. The 2/2 on 28 count linen is just like very satisfying to stitch on. So I worked on this, I think, Saturday and Sunday. And last year with the moon phase bell pull, Stephanie and I think Stephanie told me like how many stitches I needed to do per month, which that one was in Pattern Keeper, so it was easier to figure out. And I made sure I hit that stitch goal every month, and then I put it away. This time, I think I'm just going to stitch on this. I'm going to pull it out on the full moon. I'm going to stitch on it as long as I want to, and when I finish it, I finish it. And if it's before the end of the year, I will just pick a different moon pattern. I'm totally fine with that, and I would like to just go with the flow with that one since I don't know how many stitches it is anyway. So I'm just going to do whatever feels right. Okay, so that is all my stitching. Like I said before, I did try to film a whip parade, which was not usable, and in that whip parade, I was sort of sorting into a pile of things I thought I could finish in 2026. If you have been around for a while, you may remember that in 2024, I accidentally started 100 projects. It was actually it was 102, I think, by the end of the year. And then last year, I think I only started 40 some, but I only finished like 25 projects last year, and in 2024, I finished 40. So my starts went down, but so did my finishes. And I ended the year officially at 95 whips because there were a couple things I decided I needed to restart because I don't like the fabric. So I took those off of the whip list, and then I finished a couple things. So I started the year with 95 whips, and I think at 96 now with my full moon stitch. And I don't have any plans right now to start anything else. I did not do a new year, new start. I did sort of map out some goals for the projects that I want to finish this year, like when I want to get them finished and how much stitching I would need to do on them to meet those goals. And it's very rough because I know that I'm not going to do a great job if I make it super rigid. But just to give me an idea of like, this is how much you need to do if you want to get it done by this time. And my plan is, so I worked on 4 elements for like 3 days. I worked on this full moon thing for 2 days. So my plan right now is choose one of the whips that I want to finish this year and just work on it until I don't want to anymore. So maybe it's 1 day, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 10. Last year I decided I wanted to finish Chromatic Dragon, that full coverage stitch, and I just did that. I just finished it. So it took 3 weeks or a month or whatever, but I just did it. So I'm just going to try to pull projects from that list of things I want to finish. I do have a couple projects that I want to get progress on that I know I will not finish this year, like my Long Dog Leap Day project, which is Froth and Bubble. And I picked one of my full coverage projects, which is Cops by Unconventional Cross Stitch. The artwork is Maggie Vanderwall. So that if I feel like stitching full coverage, I will pull that one out because it would be nice to get like a good amount of progress on one of them instead of working on each of them for 1 or 2 days in the whole year. So that's sort of kind of what I'm thinking. And if you want to hear more about that, I can do a plans video, but I feel like as soon as I put that out into the world, I'm not going to actually want to do it. So instead, I would maybe just invite you to stick around if you're interested in seeing how many things I can get finished this year. And you know, in a month or a week or 2 days, I might decide that's not my goal anymore and go back to starting things with Reckless Abandon. It's all fine, but for the last month or so, I have been feeling motivated to get some things finished, and I think it would be cool if I could just have a chunk of time where I remain focused on that, and I'm not going to make myself stitch on something that I'm not happy to stitch on. I will just pick one of the other 40 projects that are on the list of things I want to finish. I did consider just keeping 4 elements out until it was done because I was enjoying stitching on it so much. But I pulled it out this morning and just realized I'm ready for something else. So I'm just going to follow my mood and try to focus on those, like I said, the ones that I think I can get done this year, and we'll see what happens. So yeah, I'm not sure if there will be a whip parade coming. Maybe I'll do a parade of the things that I want to finish this year, and then that way I'll be able to compare it at the end of the year and see how well I did, and just leave the others out. But yeah, we'll see. It will depend. As far as life update goes, things are getting weird with the divorce that I'm in the middle of, and the kids are good, I'm good. Things are just getting a little weird as we get closer to the end, hopefully, of this process. So, yeah, really just leaning into doing what brings me joy and what feels right in all aspects of my life, cross-stitch included. So it's not going to be like a year with a lot of like deadlines or hard goals. Also, there's a good chance that I will be moving soon, so I just know that there's a lot of things up in the air and likely a lot of changes coming. So I am going to use stitching as a joyful hobby that helps keep me centered and calm me down and makes me smile, and I will endeavor to bring you along for the journey this year if you should like to join me. I appreciate everyone who comes by to hang out with me and watch my videos and leaves a comment or like. All my subscribers, thank you very much. Happy New Year to you. I hope this year is better than last year, and I hope that you are taking care of yourself and finding some time to stitch, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.